Love being able to hang out with the head coaches. And here's the second-year man with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Craig Berube. Does it feel different this year, Chief, than it did a year ago?
I mean, familiarity, right? You spend a year here and you know the guys, you know the organization and how things work and, you know, how we're doing things. So, yeah, for sure, there's a little bit of familiarity, which helps. But I'm excited, ready to go. Like always, I think that feeling hasn't changed for me over the years. You come into camp, you come here early, you see the guys all, skating, preparing for camp. So it's a real exciting time for me all the time.
How does it feel like you know what's coming up ahead for the meat grinder of the media? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's all part of it here. We all know that. So, and I understand that. And, to be honest with you, I mean, I didn't have an issue with it last year. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah. And there's a lot of questions you got to answer. And, there's a lot of media here, but that's part of the job. And, I understood that coming in here. So you just got to deal with it and, do your best and give them what they need. And that's all part of the job.
Be worried when they're not asking questions.
Yeah, probably, right?
Hey, the one thing that has changed since last year is there's no Brendan Shanahan. Your relationship, obviously, with Brad is strong, and you probably now have a new relationship with Keith Pelly. How does that affect things?
Yeah, for sure. And, I had a great relationship with Shanny, just playing against him for a number of years. And, but to me, it was a real good relationship last year. I thought we worked well together. Well, this guy's, he's a Hall of Fame hockey player. He knows the game very well. And so I had a lot of good conversations with him about the game and where we're at and things that we need to get better at and just talking. And so it obviously is a change. But I got a good relationship with Keith. I got to know him well last year. And he's a great guy. And, it's a little bit of a new direction, but I think it's going to be great.
Talked to a couple of players who faced your team last year on the front side, and they told me it was like a different club than the year before. Where do you have to continue that this year to be better?
Yeah, for sure. I think our identity doesn't change. I think we formed a good identity last year, and it's getting it better. We were right there, I thought. But
where does it have to get better?
I think mentally. I think I look at Game 7 and Game 5 at home against Florida. We didn't perform at the level that we needed to in those games, and we got impatient at times and just didn't stick to our game. If you look at Game 6 in Florida, we played a really good, solid game. We were patient all game in that game. We were heavy. We were hard. And I just thought that we didn't do that at home, So I think the mindset here at home in these big games has to improve. But overall, I think we still can improve our identity, and that's the focus this year at camp. Is we can be tougher than we were. I mean, and it's not has nothing to do with the fighting aspect of the game. It's just being a hard physical team and a mentally tough team, and not breaking. You can bend, but you can't break. So that's, to me, that's a big thing here in camp that we got to push and get our players to take another step.
You bring up a good point about playing at home. You're a Canadian kid. You watch Saturday nights. The Maple Leafs played every Saturday night. Everybody dreamed about playing on Hockey Night in Canada. Do you think there's less of a home ice advantage of people coming back to play in Toronto than it is other places, like whether it was in Philly for you or in St. Louis when you coached?
I do. I really do. I think that teams come in here, and a lot of Canadian players and hometown Toronto guys, they're excited to play here. They're looking forward to it. So I found that, games at home are hard. They really are. And we got to be better. I mean, we got to understand that these teams that are coming in here, they're excited. They're going to be jacked up to play the Leafs at home. And I think that we can play more to our identity at home, you don't have to be great, but you got to be good. You know what I mean? We don't need great plays. We need good, smart hockey plays to our identity at home as much as we do on the road. And I think that's a step that this team has to take. And dealing with all the pressures of the home ice here, in Toronto with the fans and the media and everything, that's all part of it, right? Mm-hmm. It's not easy. So that's the step that we need to take here.
Talked about the focus of camp. How do you get better at that and be stronger and bending but not breaking?
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Well, I think
from a hockey perspective.
Yeah, from a hockey, I think it's more of a mental perspective. I think it's about discussing it with our team more than normal and understanding. And it's going to become situational and video and things like that. Games at home that you can pick out and show your team. These are the types of plays that we don't need here at home. Like, we got to be direct all the time, whether we're at home or on the road. We need to play the same way. And I think at home we get to try to be a little bit too cute at times. And like I said, we want to make the great play, right? Especially your top guys, they want to perform at home. They want to, perform in front of their fans and the people of Toronto. But we got to get past that, and the focus has to be on doing the right things for what's best for the team.
How do you replace 102 points?
Well, you don't. And Mitch is a great player. We all know that. Like I said, I love coaching him. I learned a lot from him. He's a smart player, very intelligent. But you don't replace that. It's just we replaced them with a few different players here that we think are going to be valuable to our team. I think we got bigger over the summer, added Roy and Joshua. Michelli's a young guy that has played some real good hockey in Arizona and Utah. Skilled player. We all know that he can make plays. So, just see where it all fits. I'm not sure where he's going to play yet. So I got to see different combinations and things like that where I can feel the chemistry. But listen, you lose a great player, and but you replace them with some real good players, and we all got to just pull it together as a team. It's about the team, not one player.
Craig, would you have had a conversation with Mitch after he signed in Vegas?
Did I have a conversation with him?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. It's not like I called him up on the phone, but I talked to Mitch. I wish him good luck and everything. I don't have any hard feelings. Players, that's their choice. They're a free agent. They can make those decisions, and that's what's best for them and their family.
As a coach, could you see it weighing on Mitch throughout the season?
No, I didn't see it weighing on Mitch throughout the season. I thought he handled everything extremely well throughout the year. I think the trade deadline, I saw a little bit of, his game maybe drop off a little bit, towards that or after that for a little bit. But other than that, I thought that I didn't see it weighing on him throughout the season at all. And, people may not, realize this, but he was very low maintenance for me as a coach. Mm-hmm. It's not like I had to go and talk to him about a lot of different things, or, he played really well for us. Practice habits were excellent. Energy was excellent all the time. Practice games, so he was very low maintenance.
How happy were you that John Tavares re-signed?
Very happy. Johnny's as good as a pro as you can find in the game, in my opinion. The way he prepares, and great team guy, great teammate, leadership. So again, I don't, I didn't see any signs of him slowing down last year. I thought he had a tremendous year, and he did. For me, I look at Johnny. Everything that he does is what's best for the team, and that's very important.
Does Austin's game have to change at all without Mitch?
It might have to. We'll see how things roll around and who's going to play there and at that position. I don't know if his game has to change that much, but he might have to, one scenario you could think about is he might have to do more himself with the puck in the offensive zone at times, hang on to it a little longer. He won't have that give and go chemistry he had with Mitch, and you don't have we don't have Mitch Marner looking for him all the time to make the play to him. So, he might have to adjust a little bit that way. But other than that, I think his game, what he does without the puck and defensively and all that doesn't have to change for me. I think in the O zone, he's going to have to find some chemistry with another player.